Washington is home to a one-of-a-kind service now sparking interest around the country. It is the first to legalize human composting, and today a handful of providers are now up and running in the state. Of course, getting past the psychological struggle of human composting may be its biggest challenge, but as experts tell us, it's an eco-friendly gift to Mother Nature.
Death is a path we will all take. It is a momentous occasion when natural life separates into the great unknown. And as some would have it, they want their natural remains to be just that, to become part of the ground they once walked. Well, now it's a reality and an option in Washington state for those seeking to become a final gift to Mother Earth. Natural organic reduction, or human composting, is new to Funieri. Essentially, it's the breaking down of human remains into soil to be reused. It became legal in Washington state in 2019, and now there are 3 licensed operators in the Evergreen state.
That's what's really cool. Like I say, it's only been the last 5 years we've seen anything new in this profession.
Rob Goff serves as the executive director of the Washington State Funeral Directors Association.
We get calls, like I say, all over the country and actually all over the world looking to see what's happening right here in Washington.
He says this is a green alternative to traditional burial and cremation because it lacks the traditional carbon materials. Washington is currently the only state in the U.S. to offer that service, and the idea was born right here in Eastern Washington.
We compost farm animals. Can we do the same thing with human remains?
It started as an idea by provider Recompose in 2017 and eventually tested at Washington State University in Pullman. The school's compost facility already converts animal carcasses into compost, and this was the next step.
They worked out a way to try it, and it worked. They did it. And from there, it just kind of grew exponentially.
It works by placing the remains inside a cradle or vessel, which looks like a large cylinder. Bacteria and wood chips may be introduced inside the cradle as well. It's kept at high heat and naturally breaks down in the following weeks. The result is soil. It can then be used for land conservation, forests, and gardens. The process is so new there is no guidebook. The 3 licensed operators each have their own tweak to the process, all yielding similar results.
As I understand it, the state licensing department will be really watching those end results. They're going to be doing some testing on the soil and that sort of stuff to make sure that there truly is no identifiable DNA or anything like that.
As of right now, the providers are located in central and western Washington. Now, human composting is still an option for people in eastern Washington or even North Idaho, but requires some transportation, though typically a body is embalmed before crossing state lines.
The embalming is the antithesis to natural organic reduction. So to bring somebody to Washington, you would have to transport them without the embalming process if they're going to do the natural organic reduction.
Our sister station in Portland visited Herland Forest in Klickitat County, the closest provider to the inland Northwest.
This is where we do the natural organic reduction.
Here, the process is done entirely by hand rather than heavy equipment, a nod to the natural disposal of a body. Caretakers gently roll the cradle over the course of several weeks to rotate the soil.
People are going to be dead for a long time. There really isn't any hurry to get this done. We'd much rather take our time and get it done right.
Caretaker Walt Patrick has a background in chemistry. 5 years ago, he gained a license to dispose of bodies naturally underground. With this new law, he can now complete that process above ground.
If you get oxygen to the decomposing flesh, the bacteria will convert it into carbon dioxide, which is easily consumable by the plants. Without that, it'll convert to methane. And methane is a 20 times worse greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
The cost? $3,000. At other providers, the cost varies, but can go up to $5,500, something Goff says is comparable to traditional burial or cremation.
I think the biggest challenge, though, that we're going to see publicly is the hang-up of that idea of we're composting human remains.
But interest is steadily growing.
I do know one place has reported that they have about 400 people already that are planning for that process at their facility.
And for those still curious.
So do your homework first. It's always best to research it. And that's the number one thing that I could say is go out and just talk to people. Funeral directors love to talk to you.
Now, just this week in Oregon, lawmakers also introduced a new bill to allow natural organic reduction. And if approved, it would become the second state to legalize human composting. California, New York, and Colorado are also considering human composting measures as well.
I got to say, Jen, it's such a fascinating story. And I know you briefly touched on it a little bit. I'd love to know maybe some more of the kind of what we give to trees, like if our body give any other kind of nutrients as it becomes that composting process that could really fortify it in ways they can't normally get.
Yeah, and like just take all of the other ways of disposing of your corpse, and none of them really offer anything to anything. Like you're embalming it, you're shoving it in a coffin, you're burning it and putting all that up into the air. None of those are good alternatives. You know what? Sign me up. Take my dead body and just roll it around on the ground until it's gone. I like that.
Did they talk about those nutrients at all, Jen? Like, does it fortify a tree or a plant in any other way?
It's just similar to, normal soil.
Yeah.
So whatever wood chips, whatever you introduce into the cradle or barrel is something that will play a role in whatever soil that you get back.
See, my thing was, okay, now that you're composted, you're able to grow into a tree and maybe even give that as a gift or know that that tree is part of that person. So what a cool way to live on in nature for those people that think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the same. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it. All
Very
right.
cool story, Jen. Love it.